What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Christian Witch Podcast. A lot of you all have been saying, Chosen, you're not the sandals Moses used to get up the mountain, but you stay taking us higher. And to that, I say thank you.
Didn't you use that one already?
Not on the recording.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, okay, hi guys, we're back. I just thought it'd be funny. I also did totally copy that from someone on TikTok, so I'm giving them credit. Her name's Rashonda, but...
Oh, nice. You know the name.
Yeah, love her. She's just hilarious, but I thought that'd be funny. And you've been telling me to do this on a podcast for a while. So anyways, hi guys, welcome back. I'm your host, Chosen, also known as Christian Witch HTX over on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, X is now Twitter, Threads, Facebook. And I am your senior pastor over at Christian Witch in the Craft now. So feel free to go check out our community for Christian Witches. We have about 11,000 members. It is our home. It's our church home. We have so many wonderful members there in a group chat with over like 1,000 people in it. So go check it out. You can find the link in my social media bios, or you can just go to christianwitchhtx.com or solo.to/christianwitchhtx, and you can connect with us there. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, as always, Lux. Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, who you is, what you bring to the table.
Hey guys, it's Lux with Lux Intuitive Therapy. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and also my website, luxintuitivetherapy.com. There you can view all of my services, but I'm also a professional psychic medium. I'm an ordained minister as well with the International Metaphysical Ministries. And,
she sure is.
Yeah, so I offer intuitive reading, tarot reading. I have a whole bunch of different readings on there at a whole bunch of different prices. So don't assume my prices are out of your budget. Go and check out the website. I've got stuff on there for as little as $5. So... Yeah,
definitely check her out. She's literally one of the only people I trust to read for me. So, and it's not just because we're friends. It's because literally she knows what she's doing. So, I don't think I introduced myself officially well, but long story short, if this is your first time catching me, I am a certified professional psychic medium. I told you I'm a pastor. I'm an ordained minister as well. I'm trained, certified, ordained. I do full-time healing, and I run an academy called the Elysium Academy of Mystical Arts, where I train people in witchcraft healing and psychic mediumship development. So you can find all that on the website. And we're both practicing witches.
Yeah,
honey,
I go by magician, but yeah.
I was gonna say, honey, you are a mage. But yeah, and I think if you're new to this podcast, what you'll find is that we are relaxed, we're eclectic AF, and we're glad you're here. So
and
today,
I think most importantly, we're real, actual practitioners.
I know, we like actually walk the walk.
Yeah.
We're
not armchair cultists, you know.
I know, we're not just reading books and spitting like random information.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely reading books.
And we're spitting information, but we're like actually walking the path,
we're actually doing it.
Yeah, so many people they just kind of fascinate and jumped on the spiritual train, like just like the hype of it all.
Yeah, and then it's also, there's the aesthetic of it, and
people just like died out.
Witch and name only, essentially.
Yeah. So anyways, long story short, which leads us to our title, well, I guess topic for today's episode is practical tips for practicing witches. So we've kind of like randomly thought of this stuff. Like we'll be out and about and we'll talk about things. We'll be like, that would be such a good episode. Just the basic things, the practical things that no one tells you about. So I know there are several things we could talk about, but do any come to your mind first?
I wanted to talk about like the practical witch's altar.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because you're on top of your altar more than I am. I have more of like just a working space, not so much an altar.
Yeah, and so I like that term, working space.
Okay.
You know, because altar lends itself to more of like a symbolic or devotional ceremonial type
sacred
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while my altar is sacred and it does have some symbology to it, it is mostly a working space.
Okay.
And I think that that's important to have a space where you can work rather than a symbolic place in your house where all of these random artifacts are that you do nothing with. And when I first was introduced to witchcraft before I met you, and you were a godsend because you really were like, no, honey, let me show you the world of witchcraft and how it's supposed to be done, and praise God for that. But the reason I had actually put witchcraft down so many years ago and then have come back to it, obviously, but I put it down because so many books about how to like set up an altar are extremely materialistic. They don't tell you why you need these implements at all. And I'm going to tell you right now, I got caught up in it. Okay. I got real caught up into it.
Oh, you did. You got got. You got got. I remember.
I got because if you've ever read a book like this, it's very much like, oh, you have to have, did you pause it?
No. Hold on one second, you guys. We have a very expensive stick about to get knocked over. We should go lay that down.
Okay, I'm gonna lay down. You want out?
Quick break while we let the cat out. All right, love that. The cat has been released from the bag. It's fine.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I just looked over. I'm like, if that falls,
It's gonna break.
crystals are gonna shatter.
Yeah.
It's fine. But yeah, you were saying you got.
Yeah, because some of these, like, I don't know what freaking book I got a hold of, right? But, you know, it's one of the ones where it was like, you have to have, like, a handmade, if you can, artisan athame. You know what I mean? That's been forged by, like, an artisan and everything. So, like, I went and got one. Like, I'm serious.
It took you so long to get it, too.
And I know, and I had money to burn.
Yeah.
And so I went and got a custom athame made. I chose the metal. I chose the wood. I went into Houston, and I found a little shop, a friend of a friend, and I got one. He drew it up for me right then and there, and he, like, seriously blacksmithed this knife.
know.
Like, it was real. Anyway, $400 later, and like 9 months or something, I finally get this knife. And by that time, I was like almost ready to put witchcraft down. And so it was just, I got. So anyway, I still have that knife, obviously, today. Yeah. And I like that knife a lot.
At least you're using it, though, you know?
Well,
yeah, I know, but you keep it and like you use it when you feel like it.
It's definitely, I've used it before. It's definitely more symbolic than it is anything else. I have it on the altar, or I actually have it in a drawer. I don't even keep it out on my altar because I didn't get a sheath for it. Yeah. And I have cats, so I'm not going to keep an open blade because, I mean, Anyway, I'm not going to go too much more into that, but...
Yeah, them cats and them serial killing sprees, girl. No, I'm kidding.
But I'll say that... when you get into books like that, these very traditional books, like a lot of them were Wicca books that I was reading, to
Wicca
be honest, or even like Golden Dawn books, or like more like Solomonic magic books and things like that. They're real big on their tools. They're real big on the implements, and especially the elemental ones. And it's like, you have to have it. You have to have it. You have to have it. And so just from practicing over the years and actually doing this craft, I have compiled a list, it's mostly in my head, of things that you really need and things that you probably don't need. Yeah. And so I wish that this would have been available to me as a beginner witch, because I would have not spent as much money. So yeah.
Yeah, the thing I got hung up on, and I still get hung up on it, and this is like, but I'm aware now, it's like, I was like, I have to have this perfect book of shadows,
right.
I have to build this charmed replica, and granted, I did build that charmed replica, and I love it, and one day I will fill that bad boy up, but I got over myself very quickly, and I kept making notes, and I like started to compile them in like a working book. Yeah. So that's one of my first tips I wanna share.
That's an excellent tip.
Is like, take notes.
Yeah.
Do not just read books and expect to remember it. And also, like, I'm guilty of this because I read so many books, but I do go back. But because I burned through so many books, like, I take little page markers and I mark so many things, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, I forgot this was here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't pull it at that time and put it in my working book of shadows. And so my advice is get a spiral, get a working book of shadows. It could be a bullet journal. I don't care. And don't worry about your handwriting. Let it be ugly, because you can always make it pretty and transfer it to a pretty book later, or create one digitally. But take your notes, compile them, and I would actually organize them in a way that makes sense to you, but definitely keep all your reference charts in like one section. So herbs, stones, stuff like that. And I want to do another episode. Actually, I'm doing a video on YouTube soon, how I organize my book of shadows. So look out for that. But you just want to make sure that you're, keep all your notes about philosophy and spiritual beliefs in one area, and spells in one section, recipes in another, stuff like that. So take your notes. Do not get hung up on like the pretty book and the special paper. And if you do convince yourself to buy a good leather journal and you're worried about messing up that first page, start about 3 or 4 pages in. That way you can always make a new title page later on, okay?
Yeah.
So that's one of my first tips.
That's an excellent tip. When I let go of that, my understanding and my studying took off. My knowledge just took off because I was waiting around, trying to gather all this knowledge in my head before I wrote it in this really pretty journal that I spent, a lot of money on. And that held me back so much, this fear of messing it up or whatever. So yeah, screw the leather journal, screw the the $50 book or whatever. Pick up a notebook from the freaking Dollar Tree and start writing.
They got some good ones.
Yeah, and I'm actually in the middle of making a digital book of shadows right now anyway.
Same.
That I can really mess with the fonts because I'm not going to learn calligraphy.
Me neither.
Okay.
And also that's another thing is it takes so much time. We had days in the past where we just hung out and we call it coloring, but we spend time in our book of shadows creating beautiful pages. And what happened? My book molded and I had to throw it away. So because it was literally making me sick. But create something on Canva, Adobe, whatever it's called, Illustrate. And yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I started this years ago and I went through and put titles on them and I was like, I need to revisit that. So that's funny you're doing the same thing.
Here's another reason why it's better. The spiral, you can take those pages out and put them then in a binder full of page protectors, which is what I've got mine in. And that way, with the binder situation, you can order your notes. So you're gonna amass an initial amount of information, say on the elements or something like that. And as you progress through your studies, you're gonna run into those elements again, and you're gonna be opened up to new understandings of those elements that you didn't initially get. And you're gonna want to take notes on that because maybe
add
it's
it
more,
to the same area.
right? And you're gonna want it in the same area. So this working book of shadows where you can unbind it, put new pages in and stuff, rearrange. You definitely want to have that. But I think the most important thing is go get a dollar spiral and start writing.
Yeah. It's so crucial to write notes and not just copy paste things. I remember when I was in private school, my teacher for every class, and she would repeat it because she taught the same class 3 or 4 times in a row, and then she taught several other classes. She would write all the notes by hand on the board for us, and we would copy them. And she did that for every class because she said it wasn't fair to make us write them if she wasn't going to. And even though she was such a hard ass sometimes, I really remember some of the things and I look back and I'm like, actually, Miss Johnson was a great leader in that way.
I had a professor in college that did that exact thing, and he'd take up 4
the
20
whole
yard boards on the chalkboard, and he would write all of these notes and stuff. So
and it's I prefer to write and the reason I brought that up, sorry guys, I got sidetracked, is because it sinks deeper into your understanding.
Oh, it definitely does.
And it helps you learn better. So there's times where
retain it really.
Exactly, retention, and I mean there's times where I'll be teaching or somebody will ask me something and I don't even understand how I have the knowledge in me other than I remember taking notes one time. Yeah. So it'll serve you on the go as well. But yeah, Book of Shadows, get over it and get a working one and make it pretty later. What's your next tip?
I want to say one more thing on this.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I literally just discovered this.
Praise God, share.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about this week.
Oh my God, share.
So I have this working book of shadows, and it's a 3-inch chock full binder, right? And
notes?
And it's full of notes of pages of paragraph type notes, right? Well, since I've written those down, that information is now in my head. And so now I'm creating a smaller, 1-inch condensed version of reference material, charts, short notes, not paragraphs of information, right? Yeah. So it would be useful to maybe get one large binder, one small, and when you're initially going through and learning new information, it's useful to write these paragraph style notes so that you retain the information. But in terms of practicality and referencing things for spell work, ritual, or whatnot, you want to correspondences and different things. You can have that in a more consolidated form so that you don't have to go sifting through hundreds of pages of notes.
I've noticed that when I take notes, the things I learn the best is when I write bullet points. Yeah. Major key concepts, bullet points
turn into paragraphs.
Well, sometimes they do, and sometimes it's necessary. There's nothing wrong with that. But I go back and I look at things. Like, so like I have several notebooks. So that's another tip. Have different notebooks for different
Yeah.
things, working ones at least. Like for instance, if you're taking a class, let's say you're taking my mediumship course and you're taking my witchcraft healing and psychic development course, okay? I would suggest two separate notebooks to keep those notes in.
Yep.
Okay. So feel free to have you can then combine them later if you want to, but just to keep stuff organized, that's another tip. So there's a bonus one. But when I forget what I was saying. Oh, the bullet points. I find some of the stuff that I was flipping through the other day. I was like, these really aren't that detailed, but I know the information behind it. And I guess it's just like the bullet point I wrote down, it was like helped it sink in deeper and helped me like file it away and like pull that file,
Yeah.
I'm like getting deep into psychological things now. Anyways, moving on. So what should
I've got something
Ooh,
else.
okay. Yeah.
It's just turned into a BOS.
Yeah. Welcome to Book of Shadows Part 1.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just kidding.
So, here's another thing. The other type of book, because you were talking, it just sparked my memory because we were talking about different types of notebooks for different things. Anyway, I have a smaller size book that I also got from the Dollar Tree. It's a spiral. That is my ritual daily journal. And so I, as a beginner witch, wish I took these notes. No joke. I wish I recorded every ritual I've ever done, every spell I've ever cast. I'm talking about the moon phase, the weather, how I was feeling that day, and documented all of these things and documented how powerful my magic was, how it felt, how my visualization was. And I know this all seems tedious, and believe me, when I was a beginner witch, that was the last thing I wanted to do. Okay. But now where I'm at now, looking back, I wish I would have documented and recorded that. But nonetheless, when I do my ritual, and I try to do it every morning, though I'm not very disciplined, but when I do it, I do sit down, I write the moon phase, I write what's weighing heavy on my heart, I write which ritual I did, and how powerful it was, and the gnosis that I received from it. And I also draw a tarot card as well, and I write that down. And this format of doing things I learned from my magical mentor, and it's only because I'm going through his course right now that I'm disciplined enough to even do this. But if you have the self-discipline to get yourself a separate notebook for solely recording your rituals and your spells, and I'm talking about like how they went, like
a lot of people recommend these, like in the books that have meat to them,
right?
You'll see it. They'll even give you like a template, they'll be like the moon phase, what time of day, what was the purpose, what did you do, what kind of magic were you doing, how did you feel after, how do you feel like it went during the process. That's a really good tip. So write that stuff down.
And the reason why I didn't feel that was necessary is because I assumed wrongly that every time I went to do magic, it was going to be the same. Magic is magic, and that's not true. I have personal power times. I have found out for myself. Some days I do it and I'm distracted. I feel like the visualizations aren't there. I don't feel the current flowing through me. I don't really feel the power. I just have to go on faith that it's freaking working. And then other days I'm like, oh no, I freaking felt it. And like, I'm hyped, right? And so you can see how it would be so useful to compare. Oh, okay, well, one we're working up 3 days before the full moon, right? And it was nighttime. And the other one, it was 3 days before the new moon, and it was the middle of the day. So what does that mean?
How does that affect you? You'll come up with your own personal correspondences for those things too. I heard, people have honestly petty opinions about Silver Ravenwolf, but but she has really good information. And if you actually read her books and you're educated enough, you'll see that she was talking about complex concepts back before there was the internet.
Interesting.
And so it's not like she could just pull it or learn from someone else and go regurgitate it. Like, she was communicating important stuff, and even going so far as to relate it to quantum physics and stuff. So it was really cool. And I know a lot of people love Ravenwolf and a lot of people don't like her because they've heard nonsense online, but most respectable people I know have a soft spot for her. And like, I even like to reread her books because it reminds me why I fell in love with magic sometimes. Like,
to pick up some.
You do. I keep telling you. Anyways, and you looked through one of that I got recently. I got a physical copy of, and you were like, "This is some good stuff."
Oh.
Yes. Remember,
wait, was it that one?
The purple one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she got really good stuff. Anyways, my point being, you guys, is that I recently heard her talking about how she gives traditional correspondences for like the moon and Aries, Taurus, whatever zodiac sign.
She does. I've been looking for that.
Oh.
What book is that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I have been searching everywhere.
I have the notes. I'll show you.
Okay. Sorry.
But
I was just like, yes! Thank you. And that's God.
No, but I showed you this though. Remember? It was the thrift copy I got. And I was like, look, she has the aspects of the moon in certain places. She has the moon aspects and zodiacs, conjunct, trine, all of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And this was back in like the 90s, girl. Like it was great.
Okay, I've got to get that from you because I'm in the middle of taking these digital notes. And
see, you guys, this is how real life works. This is how you know we're real witches. Okay, we're actually doing this. No, for
real. What do you say it? Divinely favored or something like that? No, because literally every time I'm working on something or I have a question, God sees to it that it gets answered.
Yes,
by
it always comes up. Spirit comes through. Spirit always comes through. So. I never said my point. So my point is I heard her, I heard Silver Ravenwolf doing a teaching. I think it was like Llewellyn Con either this year or last year or something. I just recently rewatched it. And she was saying over the last several decades, I've looked back at my notes and I've noticed that when the moon was in these places, this is how people around me acted.
Oh, I remember you saying
this is how the energy felt. And
That's
so
right.
These are my personal correspondences.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how, like, for instance, one of the things she said was like Mercury retrograde. She goes, these are powerful times for magic because you have several, she said she calls it slingshot magic.
I remember this conversation.
Mm-hmm, she's like, you have, and I'm not going to dive deep into this because I don't, first off, my head hurts and I don't think I'm going to explain it properly. But she said you have several points of powerful alignments to make things happen during retrogrades. First when it slows down and retrogrades, then when it speeds up and goes direct. So she said it's amazing, incredible timing to do magic and stuff. And I want to go deeper into that and look into that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But it's things like that. You'll be able to look back over your notes and be like, wow, I've noticed every Friday the 13th, I've gotten a raise, or like what, it could be as practical as that, or it can be like, I understand the cosmos. Like it can be any of that kind of stuff, but write it down. And I'm always telling my students this, when you sign up for my course, one of the things that is required is you have to get a workbook of shadows. And it's just a notebook that you take notes in, but also I want you to journal your experiences. Every time a little thing happens that you think is a synchronicity, a magical act, I am constantly telling my students, celebrate the supernatural in your life. Feed those moments, celebrate it. Even if you're triple guessing it, take the healing, if there's healing there, and celebrate it, okay? Because you get more of the energy you feed, okay? Not saying feed delusions, like we're not, if you see a feather fall and you have an obsession with, Raven Simone, that doesn't mean you're like soulmates with her, okay? Just because a feather fell, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. We're not talking about symbology. But like, for instance, I have students where they have incredibly, like, for instance, a lot of what's happened this week is they're picking up on precognition and they're messaging me about things that we're literally going over in the next class.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's how I know that they're engaged. They're doing it. They're in tune with the spirit and like the rhythm of things. So it's been really cool. Like one girl actually intuitively, shout out, you know who you are, and I know you're listening, B Money. But she was like, yeah, I just want to know, like, am I nuts? Did I make this up? Like, I did this exercise. I'm like, I'm literally teaching you all that tomorrow in class. I said, it's not exactly the same exact thing, but I mean, it's pretty much spot on, right? And it was an energy cleansing technique. And it's just really cool. So write it down, celebrate these moments, and you'll be able to look back one day and you'll see that you've developed your own style of magic as well. So we are 23 minutes in and only talked about Book of Shadows and notes so far. So we're going to move forward.
Yeah, this will be a multi-part probably.
Yeah, but let's talk about like, what are some tools that you really need? Because for me, I find that it's so funny. We come back to basics and we just had this conversation earlier. So here's that synchronicity again. But like, I love a good incense stick. I love loose herbs and cones too. I'm not bashing those. But an incense stick, it's so
utilitarian.
Convenient and useful and diverse. And like, you can cleanse, you can bless, you can charge, you can literally do spells.
It's kind of like a wand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, literally. And also there's the whole, it changes the energy of a room. I don't know. I love
incense definitely does.
So I always have incense. Like in my working space, I have my oils, my notes, my cards, my incense. And I have some crystals as well. I have tons of crystals really, but like other people, they have like a patent in specific candles in their athame and stuff. And like I have a drawer that I have my giant book of shadows in, and my wand I got from Salem, my crystal wand that I made. By the way, picked that up for the first time in a couple weeks because it's like I just got busy and just haven't played with it. I, girl, I guess I needed the break so I could
really feel it.
Yeah. And I cannot tell you how amazing that wand is. Here's a pro tip for you guys, practical tip for practicing witches. If you want a powerful wand, get selenite. Like if you need a crystal, get selenite, okay? I just made a TikTok about this. It's going up next Monday. But selenite unblocks and clears all energies, and it activates and will blend and magnify any crystals that you put with it. So it emanates those united energies, and it's great for cleansing your energy as well as manifestation and unblocking any any clogs in your energy, specifically if you're working with developing your clairvoyance and things like that. So but yeah, girl, that wand was amazing. But anyways, my point is that I've noticed that some people, they need like 20,000 candles. Other people need like 17 stones. Some people have one of each. I'm like, I'm good. If I can reach my lighter and my incense, I'm good.
That's awesome.
Like even when we do like the market events.
So your second one is like incense sticks?
Well, I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say like in that order. Like there's no hierarchy here.
Oh, no, I just
like
mean
coming
like...
to mind. Yeah, like the second thing I think is so practical and so diverse and useful and doesn't get as much credit is the incense sticks. And if you look, it's so cheap and like tons of options.
I like that. I like cheap.
Yeah, so it's really useful. And yeah, so what about you?
I'm definitely an incense girly too. I don't use it in the same way that you do, but I can't do magic or ritual without incense lit.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
I mean, and there's a lot of psychology behind like smell and memory.
Correct.
And like getting into that magical mindset and how all those things can so quickly link. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I hadn't done magic in several weeks, and I was sitting out on the porch, and my husband came and lit an incense, and it blew out the window and was hitting me in the face when I was sitting on that porch, and instantly I was like, it's magic time. I like instantly wanted to go do some magic. I wanted, and there was like this ache in my heart for the supernatural, and I was like, wow, that feels good. So I was like, okay, so next time I'm feeling stuck, I'm going to try lighting some of my ritual incense, that I typically burn. But anyway, I prefer incense cones.
No, and I typically like those too, but I have found my signature incense.
Oh, yeah?
And I don't even want to tell people what it is because it's like it's super secret. Smells so good. You've smelt it before, and I was like, I've literally, I sniffed it out at the Magic Cauldron. I walked by their wall of incense. I said, wait, I literally looked like a dog sniffing out this incense. I made them help me find it, and they have not carried it since, and I finally found the supplier and ordered it directly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. It's really good. Anyways, sorry, I just thought that was funny.
Go. Oh, I have a whole bunch of different incenses and cones, and I lit some stick incense today, actually. For me, just the way you use the stick incense totally makes sense why you'd use a stick, right? In fact, the ritual of the Rosy Cross, some versions say that you should use a stick of incense to actually draw the crosses and stuff during that ritual. So it's interesting that you use it that way because it's well documented that you do. But anyway, I feel like it's just a little bit more messy for me. That's why I like the cones. Yeah. But I have like incenses for each planet, incenses for each element, cleansing incenses, basic incenses, devotional incenses, like a bunch of different...
You also have a really good little system of organization because you took that little craft box. That's a practical tip. Tell them about that.
A little tackle box. Yeah. All right. Not like the little toolbox type tackle box. I'm talking about
the ones you can get at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby.
Or that you can like beads, different color beads in. If y'all know what I'm talking about, it's like a little plastic
organizational thing.
And it's got dividers in it, and it's thin. But anyway, that is perfect for storing several incense cones in there. And on the top of the lid, you can take a Sharpie and just write like what their flavors. You can write what they're used for, or what. Like I've got mine as days of the weeks based on the planetary correspondences. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
That's a really good practical tip.
That's a good practical tip. So like organization for your stuff is everything. Yeah. But I think my other one is having either and if you really want to get fancy, you can like consecrate a special rag or two. Have a rag. Like I've got one hanging right there. Have a rag, or a better yet, paper towels.
Yes.
Because things do get messy. And
especially during ritual and spell
yeah,
work.
and you don't want to leave ritual to like,
go wash your
hands.
And the reason I'll tell you that is I'm not
off.
saying don't do that, but just so you guys know, like from a psychic energetic standpoint, which is also magical, but some people are really big on the psychic stuff, but like energetically, washing your hands cleanses your energy.
Yeah, right.
And it also will snap you out of alpha.
Yeah, it does.
So
that's
why
I
out of ritual mindset. So it's you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
That paper towels is a huge one. I remember when he brought that up that day, I was like, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I go through like several.
Coming off of that is some type of container to act as a trash can.
Yes.
That's the other thing. You would not believe how much I just didn't believe how much trash was generated from doing spell work. Like little wrappers of things you don't think about, like extra crumbs, like, I don't know, just stuff. Yeah, stuff like especially if you go to the herb store and you know, anyway. So having like a little bowl or something, if you want to be like real witchy about it, everything that's burnable, so no plastics, but ash. You could use any leftover spell ingredients like herbs and things like that. You can put those in a certain bowl or something like that and save it until
like an ash pot.
Yes,
like a specific bowl to burn things in.
A specific bowl that you burn things in, and every new moon you go burn all of that extra spell ingredient down, and that creates you an ash pot.
Yeah.
Another one, I can just fire them off.
Yeah, go for it.
So listen. I didn't know this for the longest time. You put salt or sand in the bottom of your
cauldron?
Yeah, I didn't know that for like the longest time.
Yeah.
Like the bottom of your incense holder.
Yeah.
Like
salt or sand to absorb the heat and stabilize it. Yeah.
So the cool thing is that I use salt. So if you use salt, the ash from the incense naturally mixes in. And there's your black salt.
Yeah.
So I have a whole jar of ash and salt that, is ready to, whatever. But another one. Okay.
Speaking of salt, another practical tip is that people only think about it as cleansing, but salt is incredibly amplifying and can amplify your magic as well. So one practical tip is when you start off and stuff and you're getting herbs and crystals and stuff, get the basics. Like if you're gonna get herbs, get the ones you can have in your kitchen. Cinnamon, sugar, salt, black pepper, cayenne, thyme, Italian seasoning is a good one.
Basil's great.
Bay leaves, basil, rosemary. There's another one that's escaping me. I don't know. And like if you want to have a few of the other ones that you like that's fine as well. But learn to operate with your kitchen herbs first. Because those are going to be
They're accessible.
They're accessible. That's what I say. They're going to
cheap.
be easily to get to, and you can get them at the Dollar Tree. Like I'm telling you guys, those herbs are still pulling on the same magical frequency, so to speak. So don't hesitate just because they're not like certified organic and being sold for $20
forgot about all that.
per quarter ounce at like Whole Foods or something.
Here's how I mitigate that. I call it breathing life back into the herb, and I will hold it. I'll sprinkle a little on my hand, and I will hold it up to where my breath is able to touch it, and I will speak like the Lord essentially over it. I will speak life back into it. I'll say, remember who you are, remember where you came from, remember our Father.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I honor you, the spirit of whatever herb that is, awaken your powers, awaken your medicinal effects and your magical uses. And then I'll put it in, so
I charge it not only just with what I want it to do for me, but I also put life energy back into it.
Yes, exactly.
And you can also, I was going to say, this is the incense thing I forgot earlier. It's very common in folk magic they call it feeding the herbs. Don't worry, you're not like feeding an actual spirit.
With the candles?
But no, not that. That's like a specific ritual. But like, for instance, like I have a crystal charm hanging in my window. And every now and then I take my incense stick around my room and I hold it under that and just charge it with that energy as well. So that's another way you can do what she was just talking about. You can speak over it, you can breathe life into it, you can visualize it, however you normally charge. But the incense also can charge things. People think it just cleanses and removes, but it charges as well. So
yeah.
Anyways, so what else were you gonna say?
Oh, the last thing on that, like I swear you're gonna think I'm crazy, but
I already do. It's fine.
I swear that when I speak life back into these herbs,
they start to like
they
shimmer.
smell.
They
smell. To me, I actually get a whiff of like I swear they smell more strongly.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
come
know.
back to life.
I feel like they do, man.
You're
I get
me back to life.
Yeah, so, but anyway, that just is confirmation for me that like, okay, this is, they're alive, they're well, they're working for me. The next thing, hope y'all are taking notes.
Yeah, because we spent 20 minutes talking about that, so you better be.
The next thing is go to the Dollar Tree, and pretty much all this stuff is from the Dollar Tree, right? Oh, that's what I was going to say. Hold on one sec. That's what I was going to say about the salt, okay? This opened my mind because now any container pretty much can be used to hold incense. When I thought I had to go and buy from the metaphysical store an expensive incense container, and it's not true because you can have a bowl or your old teacup or anything with salt in the bottom because it insulates the heat from the vessel. So pretty much anything you want becomes an incense burner now.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's just what I'll say because I spent a lot of money on like decorative incense holders and things like that, and you don't need that. You just need, $1.50 cone incense. Go to the Dollar Tree, get you a little $1.25 bowl with some salt. I mean, that's $3 and you're in business for incense instead of a $20 little fancy fucking container. Oops, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, we've dropped several curse words. It's fine.
We have.
Listen, we love Jesus, but we do cuss a little. Okay?
Yeah, so excuse me, but anyway, but I just am passionate about this because I've spent so much. I've spent so much
money on witchcraft.
And it's so unnecessary to get to the spell work.
Also, so many jars. I have so many jars. Dollar Tree. Go to Dollar Tree and go to Hobby Lobby. They have an entire aisle of jars. Okay, save yourself the money. Go there. Do not order them on Amazon for like $20 for 2 jars. No.
Right.
Okay. Also, since we're on the Dollar Tree, I would honestly practical tips.
I'm a Dollar Tree witch, okay?
Honestly, same. And I'm extremely effective. I have people come to me from all over. But that reminds me of something. Remind me to bring up writing down things again, okay?
Okay.
But the Dollar Tree, I would go there and get all you can get there first, and then go look for other things. Okay.
Yes.
Make a list and don't be like, oh, I'll get that at the Dollar Tree because sometimes they don't have stuff in stock.
Right.
Also, I'll tell you this: the Dollar Tree is pretty cheap, and honestly, I'm pinching pennies here. But if you live in the States or near an Aldi's, you can get the same size like table salt, sea salt container for 49 cents as opposed to $1.75.
Oh, nice.
So for every $1.25 you spend at the Dollar Tree, you can get 2 things of salt somewhere else, and at Aldi. And like, listen, they also have herbs there. Sometimes they have higher quality herbs, like if you're going to be making teas and stuff out of them, so you may want to do that. For instance, like people make rosemary tea and stuff like that, so or cinnamon tea. Maybe you do want to get that. That's more, just use your discernment. I've never had a problem with it, and it's being sold as food safe, so you should be fine. But if you want to experiment and try it out, that's another good place is Aldi. They also have an aisle of like knickknacks and stuff, and it's usually pretty cheap, but you can get stuff that like Hobby Lobby would be selling for double the price there. And so that's like another little thing I've noticed as a witch that also loves Aldi.
Yeah.
Is like they have some good stuff. Yesterday I got these huge wire baskets.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, heck yeah, I'm about to organize my witchcraft stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, Aldi's a good place, especially for salt, if nothing else.
Yeah. So,
and oils. That's what I was going to say. Aldi is a great place for oils because when it comes to witchcraft, one of my other practical tips is like, you can infuse your herbs and make any magical oil that you want. You don't have to order essential oils for $20 a bottle.
Oh, yeah. Get you some olive oil.
Yes. And I will also I'm going to go out and just tell you guys this, okay? Essential oils are healing and wonderful and powerful, and I use them. I mostly use them. That's because I had them from like holistic medicine type stuff. But in magic, we're not using the holistic the holistic qualities, the aromatherapy, the healing properties of the essential oils. You can use fragrance oils because we're charging them anyways with magic, and it's the idea that they correspond to. And I will tell you this as well: most large scale companies that sell you things, it's half essential oil and half fragrance because there are fragrances out there that do not exist. They are synthetic. Gardenia is not a real fragrance. It is a synthetic fragrance. They have to make it up. So there's certain things that don't get caught up in like it's not $50 and organic and like cold pressed. And I was too. And there's certain things that I will do. So like I have a brand of healing oils coming out that I'm going to be using certain products for, and they have a brand of magical oils coming out that I'm not stressing about because they're magically charged.
Right.
You earlier felt one of my healing oils. Did it work?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I not only infused that oil that I got from Aldi with the herbs, I also added essential oils. So it's a combination of both things.
Right.
Okay, so just because you can't afford a huge bottle of let's say, rosemary essential oil doesn't mean you can't get $4 worth of rosemary herbs and soak it in some oil for a couple weeks,
Yeah,
that's a practical tip that I didn't understand.
Excellent thing to bring up, because if you need something medicinal, that's a whole nother ball game versus I just need to make an infused anointing oil to dress my candle.
Yeah.
That's totally, you know what I mean? So
yeah, and you know what else I'll actually say? I think this might be a little above some heads if you don't know how to go about it, but making water-based potions as opposed to worrying about having oils to anoint.
Oh, yeah.
Because you literally are just brewing a tea, basically.
It's just
a tea, basically, and you're charging everything, but then you're stabilizing it. Yeah, so... and
preserving it?
Yeah, you're preserving it, stabilizing it. And you can anoint candles with that. You can anoint everything with that. Matter of fact, I just made a whole fresh batch of that one product I was telling you about that store wants to carry, and that was water-based, and they felt it shoot across their body, and you felt it before too. And matter of fact, at one of our local markets, I had several people come by and I was like, here, try this spray I got. And I didn't tell them that I made it. They had no reason to be nice to me. And they're like, oh my God, I feel like everything just fell off of me. I think you said you felt like a wall go up around you, and like other people, like everyone liked it. So it does, just because you don't have essential oils or high quality ingredients, meaning like expensive, because high quality can be affordable, doesn't mean that your magic isn't effective. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know why I got on the rant. But
that's because you're passionate about it.
I am.
Yeah, just like me with the incense stuff.
Well, and also like witchcraft, when it comes down to it, is healing with what you have available, Yeah,
exactly. I like the kitchen herbs thing a lot. Another thing is, and you have to release a bit of your aesthetic, but I was so obsessed with tapered candles.
Oh my goodness.
For the longest time. Listen, they're messy. You've got to get a holder and pray to God the candle fits in there correctly. And so that's a candle for $1.25 usually, a little 6-inch tapered candle. And then you've got, a $5 to $10 candle holder, depending on what you can find.
Yeah.
And, that's a $15 setup right there sometimes, or a $10 setup. And, I've got elemental candles. So, a blue, a green, a yellow, a red. I couldn't find the black ones, but you said they're in stock now because of Halloween
at Dollar Tree.
At Dollar Tree.
Yes.
Okay, so you got to load up on them now.
Pro witch tip, practical tip. Go to dollartree.com. And you can order a case of them. You have to get like 12 at a time, but still, that's still cheaper than driving around town just to get 3 or 4. You know?
Right. And they also have the white pillar candles too. So, but that's all the candles that you kind of need for like an altar or something like that.
And I'll tell you what else you can do if you're needing colored candles. It may not be the glass candles.
Yeah.
But go to Hobby Lobby, and they have different size ones. They go from 6-inch to 7-inch to 8-inch to 12-inch candles. And
Hobby Lobby has sales on those, and it's
and they're
cheap.
always they're usually even not on sale. They're $1.25.
Yeah.
So and they have all the colors, including black, and different sizes. And the other day I saw they have like chime size now. For a couple of the shades, they're like 6-inch chime style candles, but they have a lot of good stuff there too. So don't forget.
So anyway, if you were wanting elemental candles for your altar for any other reason, practically, it's a 7-day candle. So I don't burn them down necessarily, but I use, because that literally the candle's going to be going for 7 days. My elemental candles and my black and white, my 7-day candles, I use for invoking energies of that candle. For instance, if I'm doing a spell that requires a lot of earth energy, then I'm gonna have my green candle lit. If I'm doing a spell full of water energy, the moon, things like that, I'm gonna have my blue candle lit. So those candles are just, they're dressed and they're consecrated. And you can do whatever you want to them, really. But essentially what I'm saying is that's a very cheap way and a clean way, so you don't have wax dripping all over your table and things like that, for your candles. You know, otherwise I like votive candles for spell work, and even a tea light candle, even though I don't use those very often.
So I love a tea light candle, and I'll tell you, I've had some powerful tea light candle spells go off without a hitch.
Yeah.
And also, they're really good too if you're making spell jars and you want the wax to melt down over it. You just take it out of the container and set it on top.
But I moved away from those chime candles and the taper candles really quickly because it just got wax literally everywhere. And you have to buy a holder for them.
So practical tip, and I apologize I failed you up until this point and never told you.
Okay.
Get a cheap plate from Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Or you can have like a working, I have like a working tray thing.
That was my next tip.
And you can get the tinfoil sheets and you just melt the bottom of the candle and stick it on the sheet or on the plate, and you do the spell there.
Yeah, that was my next tip.
So, okay, gotcha. So that's, if you want to use those, you can, and that's how. Now I'll tell you another pro tip about the candles. Have you ever burned a candle and it's sinking in the middle, but the edges aren't burning? It's
oh yeah, okay, I've got those over there. Yeah.
So the reason is anytime you buy a candle that is pretty thick in width, no matter what size it is, you want to burn it long enough
so it's even
for the entire surface is burned. Okay, it's called the first burn effect. I don't know if that's the real term, if that's just some lady I heard tell me a long time ago, but you want to burn until at least the top part is all evenly melted, then extinguish it. And that way it burns evenly.
Yeah.
And after that, you should be good, is what I've heard. I haven't really tested it because usually I'm burning it long enough for it to be even and melted. But there's been some candles that I'm like, it didn't burn over here. And I'm like, I didn't let it freaking melt.
Yeah.
Also, practical tip when it comes to candles, don't fix them to a paper plate and leave them unattended.
Don't do paper.
Don't know what I was thinking. I totally...
you were speaking from experience.
Totally accidentally. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, this will be fine. It's in the bathtub. And because I had to go to the other room for something. Forgot all about it. Came back. And it had burnt a scorch mark into the tile. And I was like, because the paper plate caught fire. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
So that was my other tip, is at Dollar Tree they have these metal little almost serving trays, about 12 inches. I painted mine, and I painted a pentagram on it, or you can paint whatever you want on it. You're not painted at all, you know. But I use that as my working surface, you know, and it keeps everything herbs and wax and just different things all tidy and everything like that. I'm looking over at my altar right now trying to figure out, you know what was ingenious?
Do tell.
Okay, so if I do a lot of candle magic, I feel like magic doesn't work without a candle. I don't know why.
It's the aesthetics.
But
it puts you in the mood.
But it's a candle on.
So let me tell you.
Incense burning.
Okay, so when we were talking about candles, you're talking about elemental candles. I was having a little vision, and something that I haven't done in a while, but a practical tip is that if you want to have elemental candles, when you call those energies, wait for you to feel it and then light the candle, and it anchors that energy.
Yes. Another reason I have them.
So some people, they don't know that. They're like, okay, I lit it. It's symbolic. What does it mean? You want to lean in and feel for the current to hit. And even if you're, even if you don't, these are the things that people don't know, you know?
Yeah.
It's, you may not be super sensitive. That's
the magic part.
I know.
That's the magic part.
It's mind blowing, right? You may not be sensitive, and you may be developing those senses.
That's okay.
But just wait until you feel it's time. Even if you don't feel the current hit, wait until you feel intuitively it's time to light this candle. Yeah. And then I promise you'll be able to discern those energies
later on. Yeah. Absolutely. So if you do a lot of candle carving and stuff like that.
Oh, that carving tool.
Yeah.
Is that what you were telling me a minute ago?
Yes. When I do a spell, Sometimes I'll still, dude, I have just a soft spot for those 6-inch tapered candles for a spell, man.
I know.
Or chime candles, right?
I like the ones that are no drip. They have no drip candles.
Oh, really?
So don't worry about it. So feel free to
Well,
look
now
this.
that I've got that plate, it's really not that big of a deal
You know
anyway.
what's a Dollar Tree pro tip?
What?
I've said this to you before, and you're like, I've never seen that. They have a 6-pack of emergency white 6-inch candles, and they don't drip, and they're like meant to last for like 6 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So you know they're gonna burn for about 6 hours. So you know you can gauge, and you're getting 6 for $1.25. So if you're gonna get candles like that, you can stock up there as well. Anyways, keep going.
So if you're into candle carving and stuff like that, they always tell you to grab your huge ass athame.
I know,
You know, and
like,
it's like,
yeah, okay,
no, you're
cool.
gonna cut yourself. Like, don't do that. Seriously? Okay, listen. They make these carving tools for clay, like modeling clay and things like that at Hobby Lobby. I think I got it for $2.99.
They also have it at Dollar Tree. I saw it the other day.
Okay, yeah. Go get it looks almost like a dentistry tool. You want to get one that has a, I like the one that has a hook on it, but there's also one that it's just a straight, like sharp needle looking thing almost.
I have one that
like
has one on each end.
Yes, that's the one I have. Anyway, I painted it, put sigils on it, and a bunch of other stuff. I consecrated it. You can do a whole bunch of really cool stuff like that. And then there's stuff you can do to the paint too itself. Like
you can charge the paint.
You can charge it. You can put a potion and mix it in with the paint. Whatever you want to do. You can get as creative as you want. But anyway, you can run that little needle over the flame of a candle that you've got lit, and it goes right through that wax like butter. Okay, so and you don't even have to try. When you just sit there with this candle in your hand and you're trying to like pry at it with a freaking butter knife or something, like, or a steak knife, like or pocket knife, like that's just, you're gonna cut yourself. So that was another one.
It was a good one too.
That was a good one.
Alternatives, if you don't have one of those, speaking of picking at teeth, toothpicks, as well as old ballpoint pens tend to work good in like decent sized candles if you're like in a pinch, or thumbtacks are good.
Oh yeah.
So like just some other things that came to mind when you were talking. I was like, what did I use before that? So yeah. What else? So practical tips for practicing witches. I would say something that's very important for me is like daily practice, not being concerned with accomplishing so many things when you're practicing daily. But at the bare minimum, wake up, acknowledge spirit, cleanse yourself, and shield. Okay, my students have to practice alpha every day. I practice alpha every day, but I'm also at the place in my life where I'm jumping in and out of it all the time. So it's not like I'm trying to build that. But and ideally, you would meditate or visualize and build your psychic abilities and your magical mindset. But literally, go back to basics. Cleansing and protection is so important, and people don't understand why we do protection work, and I'm just going to give you the secret. Mainly it's our own selves that we're protecting ourselves from. The things that we're believing about ourselves, the incorrect harmful energies we're attracting towards ourselves,
our own vulnerabilities,
exactly, the things we've accepted, other people's judgments about ourselves that we've accepted, and they're all sitting inside of our aura, basically, and they're telling creation how to line up and behave towards us. So cleansing daily, and I'll tell you this, like, if I have someone in my life that has sucked the joy out of my day, I'll go cleanse immediately because I can feel it lift.
Oh yeah.
Even if I'm pissed off cleansing, okay, I will just
Well, no, you're 100% correct. Yeah. And even in the Golden Dawn tradition, that's why they had the neophyte. They didn't do any other magic or ritual except for prayer and the LBRP, the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Prinagam. That's what they did for an entire year before they could move forward with any studies, because they believed it was so important to learn how. Well, the LBRP is a multifaceted ritual, but one of the things that it does is to cleanse, clear, and essentially it elementally harmonizes the aura. Yeah. And so, that's really good stuff.
Yeah. Another thing that I'll say is that as Spirit began showing me my own rituals and magic and downloading these exercises and like giving my own forms of shielding and stuff, and it typically came as like different ways to shield yourself, different ways to cleanse yourself was the first ways that it happened. So yeah.
I think this is another thing I'm really passionate about, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about like the traditional elemental tools of Wicca and the Golden Dawn and things like that, which they come from the Solomonic grimoires, where you have like the chalice, you have your paten, you have your athame, and then you also have a wand. There's a lot of argument to be made about the necessity of those tools. I think if you want them to symbolically represent the elements, that's fine, go right ahead. You can accomplish the same thing with colored candles. I will tell you right now, I have never once used my chalice in ritual. Okay? Not once. I don't really know what it's for other than like the great rite, and doing like sacrament, or if you're doing something more devotional where you pour yourself and deity an offering or something like that, and you're like almost like breaking bread with Christ or something like that.
Or if you don't have an elemental candle, it symbolizes.
Or like in the Catholic Church where they're sipping of the wine and things like that. Communion, that's what it's called. Yeah, so I can see where it would be like a communion style ritual if you were into that, if you wanted to do that. But if that's not in your practice, I'm sorry.
And even if you did want to do that and you don't want a chalice, get yourself a bowl. You can consecrate a shot glass for all I care.
A shot glass? Like, literally, it's anything. Yeah. The main draw for it is anything that symbolizes the water element. It's liquid. So even a seashell would work. Yep. It's something that symbolizes liquid. The other thing I've never used is my paten. I had my sister-in-law, she does stained glass. She made me a beautiful paten, and I have it on my altar. It's just amazing for aesthetics. Yeah. But in terms of like, really using it or getting any use out of it, no, not really, because I've got that working plate. You know what I mean? That's what I work on and things like that.
What's funny is that I just realized I didn't talk about it, but I use mine. I have a smaller one that's a triquetra instead of a traditional pentagram. Yeah. And I use it in my spells. I don't know why that didn't come to mind. Okay. Because we've kind of talked about like our altar tools before, and like I just realized that I always use it. Yeah. But I also am very conscious of the idea of the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the power of three. Right. Oftentimes I will put that triquetra under a candle holder. I'll have crystals that correspond at the tips of the triquetra, selenite connecting them, forming like a triangle as well, inside of a circle, something. Like it'll get real intricate, and so you guys don't have to do this. It's almost like it's amplifying, but it's layering forms of magic. It's amplifying it and stuff like that. So we are running out of time. Our little podcast is telling us to wrap it up because we're already at 56 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this recording. We're going to run to the bathroom, and we're going to come back and we're going to wrap this podcast up. Okay? We're going to record a separate audio track. Okay. All right. So we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. So, what were we saying?
I wanted this, first of all, before I forget and leave y'all without it, as well as the paper towels in the trash can, make sure you have several lighters. Correct.
There's nothing more holy than having a lighter on hand.
Yeah, because I had one lighter for my entire house, so it was always getting stolen by my husband to light the candles in the living room. So I would be like mid-ritual, like, where's my lighter? Yeah, so make sure you have like lighters throughout the house and like several for just your space.
Also, some people like matches. If you're going to do matches, you may want to opt for the longer ones. Oh, yeah. We can reach into the candles if they get burned down low, and you're not having to like scald your fingers.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say, and I really no more coming to mind after that, is the elemental tools. While they're, I guess, kind of traditional, you don't have to have them. A lot of people have them. A lot of people like them. I personally like them. They make sense to me, but I'm not sure if that's just because of my upbringing. Like in terms of like coming into the craft and the four elements being there and learning and reading book after book, like you have to have them. But something that also you can do is have almost more like neo-shamanic elemental tools where you've got like a seashell for water.
I was going to say that, yeah. Feather for air.
A feather for air and things like that, instead of like, the very abstract, the wand, the athame, the blade, stuff like that. In terms of like the wand and the blade, I've used my blade to cast a circle. I've used my wand to cast the circle. I'll just tell y'all straight up, I prefer my fingers.
Me too. Best wand you ever have on you is your finger.
Yeah.
Or hand or mind, whatever.
I don't know if I just need more practice with it or if I just struggle with it. But I have a hard time almost pushing my magic through the implement, if that makes sense. And I feel like I don't know, I just feel that the energy is like experiencing like a blockage rather than an amplification.
So this is fascinating because I've noticed this year in particular, like for instance, I really connected with that wand in Salem, and I know it was a themed shop and it was a whole thing, but there are handcrafted wands from overseas, and the woman really does lean into the idea of like there being intention behind the wands, right? And I got like the one they had of that, right? So I actually can feel energy being directed with it.
Okay.
And it's wild. I mean, of course, the selenite one, I can feel that because it's just like, it's on its own, it's channeling energy,
well, that makes sense with the selenite.
Yeah, and there's like a clear course at the tip. But that, and with the athame this year, I've noticed that it's not that I prefer it, but I have begun to feel it. So that's another tip, is that sometimes things change.
Yeah.
And sometimes you decide, like for a season I didn't like this, and now I do, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made my wand. I went on like I don't know what to call it, a spiritual walk, and found a already fallen
a quest, if you will.
Quest. I found an already fallen branch, and I tuned into it intuitively and picked up like it fell off the tree due to a storm, and it was looking for a home. And whatever, right? Real hokey shit. So anyway, I brought it home, and I skinned it, for lack of a better word, and I made it, and this is when I was real caught up in all the organic stuff, right? So I made my own freaking, because you can't put any artificial chemicals on your wand, right?
Way to live off the land, honey.
Yeah, so I made a stain, a natural stain with vinegar, coffee grounds, and steel wool.
That just reminded me of my favorite tip I have to give you. Keep going.
Okay, so
I remember that story though.
Yeah, and then I got clay and like molded a handle around the back side of the wand and baked it, and like baked crystals into the clay and stuff like that. So anyway, I still love that wand. Still love that wand. But I casted so many circles with it. I just prefer to use my fingers, I guess. The blade, I always had trouble with. Maybe I was too nervous, like bringing it towards my face at times when I needed to do certain rituals that called me to like, touch my forehead and touch parts of my body with it and everything like that. Anyway, I personally haven't found use with a wand or a blade. So I just wouldn't recommend those, and like necessarily for the beginner witch, because
they're not necessities.
Right, they're not necessities.
Sure. Don't stress about not having them.
Yeah, because you can do magic with your fingers or with your hands, and I personally prefer that.
And I'll tell you right now, 2 years ago, has it been 2 years?
Probably.
It's been over 2 years, yeah. When I first met you, when you were just coming back to the craft.
Yeah.
The first time we cast a circle in that week together, you used your finger. You used your hand and your mind. Even then, like having not like, and since I've known you, you've done so much development. But even at that level, you still were discerning like, not worth it.
Yeah.
So by all means, don't feel like you guys have to like have some deep spiritual understanding as to why you don't want it. But if you do want it, go for it. We're just telling you, you don't have to have it.
Yeah, but please, Lord, know that you don't need a $400
handcrafted,
artisan, custom,
forged,
handmade,
blacksmith approved.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah, we don't have to. What do you call that when you like if you were going to reach out to a designer and have something custom made?
Bespoke.
Yeah. And something else, like there's like a word. It's when you have someone on something. It's like, I don't know.
It's like a synonym for custom?
Yeah, it's like you reached out and you hired them to do something. I feel like I can hear like
contracted?
Contracted. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. contracted, is it not consignment? No. No, not consignment. I don't know, girl. So we summoned a blacksmith. We're just gonna go with that. Anyways, sorry about the rabbit trail. Yeah, so you don't need all that kind of stuff.
Something else just came to me.
Okay.
Just like the herbs, use your kitchen herbs. You don't need every rock in the shop.
Oh, 100%. Get basic ones for the basic things. Cleansing, protection, awakening, channeling, whatever it may be. Like find a good handful. Learn about those qualities.
Right.
And then use them.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for candle magic, so.
A lot of people do, because you know why? Because it encompasses all 5 of the elements.
Yeah, all the elements, yeah.
And all the different layers of magic goes into that.
Look, I mean, other than like.
So I have a.
Other than jars, I like little bags. On Amazon, you can get those little jewelry bags for real cheap, and you get like 100 of them or something.
You can also pick them at Hobby Lobby. Sometimes I see them in like the jewelry making aisles.
Here's one. I got one. Okay, this was a life changer.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Go. I had a brain blast, but I want to hear yours first.
All right. Game changer. When you're doing ritual baths or anything that require like herbs to be put in the bath, do not put them directly in the bath. Put them in one of those little mesh tool-like style jewelry bags or a tea bag.
A muslin bag, you can get those too.
Yes. But put the bags in there, the herbs in that bag first, and put it in your bath water like a tea. Okay, because let me tell you, 4 months from now, you don't want to be, Drano-ing that thing.
Yeah.
And freaking getting what are they called? The little snake?
Yeah.
And snaking out the drain, because believe me, that's what I was doing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because the herbs, it will clog the drain, and it's an absolute mess. And like all of this stuff on TikTok, I don't know how they're doing it. They must have some sort of like strainer at the bottom of the drain.
Yeah, so you can get that. So they have like instead of what do you call them, like stoppers?
Yeah.
For the drains, they have ones that are like strainers.
Yeah.
And they let water go through and catch everything. So like they do have that stuff, but like honestly, like be practical. And another thing about being practical with herbs and baths is test and see if you're allergic to things, because you're naked in a bath and there are open ways into your body.
So I didn't know this, ladies, and maybe y'all just think I'm ignorant, but I found out very interestingly that we actually absorb medicinal properties of herbs
through your genitalia.
Through the genitalia. Yeah, that's a very absorbent material down there. Had no idea. So anyway, that was a great mugwort bath, let me tell you. Okay, that was great. Absolutely fantastic. Had some extremely visionary experiences. It was good. Yeah. It was good stuff.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it, like we absorb it through our skin everywhere, but especially down there too. Yeah. So, women especially more than boys, but even boys are like certain areas that absorb. Down there.
I know the armpits.
The armpits and what do you call it? Erogenous zones, or the places that it comes.
The soft spaces and things
behind the knees, things like that. Yeah.
But just be careful with your dosage with that, because I didn't know that, and there was quite a bit of mugwort in that bag, and I was like, oh, we're having an experience now. This isn't something I intended, so just be safe.
Yeah, another practical thing I'll say, and this comes to, I remember I was going to tell you earlier about writing things down. Thanks for remembering to remind me. That was a joke, but anyways, moving on.
I forgot.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, moving on. You missed it. It's fine. Okay. I'm just kidding. I'm sure Spirit did it. I lost my train of thought. Oh, the potion I was just telling you about, the one that I made the spray with a long time ago that we brought up earlier? Do you know when I went to look in my working book of shadows, I don't know what I did with that piece of paper. Thank God I remembered the recipe, because I would have been furious.
Yeah.
So that's the importance. Even so many years into this, I still have to go back and look at my notes. Just because you know things doesn't mean, and things have been committed to memory doesn't mean you don't have to go pull them from memory and go refresh and stuff like that. So so write it down.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a good habit with it, like me, this is what starts happening. You start getting really into this thing, and soon you're able to just intuit the herbs you need and the things you need for your spell, and soon you're just concocting a potion, and you can feel it, man, because you're just into it. So your little herb here, and you're being a full-blown witch.
Yeah, you're doing it.
It's awesome. And then when everything's said and done, and you pack everything away, and you've got your little thing settled, and you're like, all right, oh my God, what did I just use? Because
Exactly.
you didn't write anything down.
Write it
Yeah,
down.
so that's happened to me a couple times where I'm like, I have no idea what's in this. Oh, and label things. You don't have to get labels, but label things.
You know, it's a practical tip for practicing which spell jars are not what you think they are. Like, you don't need a jar for every spell.
Jars
Exactly.
often.
Anytime you use a jar, you're containing something, okay?
Yeah.
Now, you can use a jar to, like, work with if you want to, like, leave the top off and stuff like that. And I teach a wonderful spell in my course called a reversal jar that's phenomenal and powerful and turns, like, never doesn't work, honestly. It always works. And that's about as much as I go with jars, okay? Aside from like oils in tiny jars and things like that. But like that's so popular, and I'm like, that's not how you get that stuff to work. You can make charms like that.
Yeah.
And you can attract certain things.
You can carry the jar.
Yeah, but it's not, but calling them a spell jar, that's really not what it is. You know, it's a talisman of some sort or an amulet of some sort.
And that's interesting you just said that, because I was just about to say, well, besides the candles, I work with amulets or talisman. And typically it's not a jar because it's not practical for me to carry around, because I'm going to bust the glass jar.
Exactly.
So I'll use like, honestly, paper. I've got a protection talisman in my car, and it's a circular piece of paper. I cut 2 little circles out, and then I stapled it halfway, and I packed it with some herbs and just other a sigil and other different things, and I stapled it all up. Okay, and that's like a little. It's like, you ever make those things, like those those paper plate tambourines? When you were a kid, where you put the noodles inside. It's similar concept to that. But you can decorate those paper. You can color correspond the paper. You can draw sigils on the paper. You can do so much with that little paper talisman with this appropriate herbs and things
inside of it. The symbols on the outside of it. The consecration and charging
symbols
of
on
it.
The inside of it.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. And another thing, since we're talking about cars, is protect your freaking car.
Oh,
like we shield ourselves and do protection magic for ourselves. Protect the things you care about: your home, your family, like your car. I'm not going to talk about it here because we're already like way over time. But the talisman in the car, crystals in the car, throw some selenite and black tourmaline in your glove box, your console, something. I have a bag of crystals that sits in my car, and I am so grateful for it. And you can also energetically shield your car. You can draw crosses or symbols of protection like the pentagram or triquetra on the wheels and the windows, before you, above you, below you, behind you, side to side. It's protect your car and stuff like that. So the last thing I was going to say is, because I think this is just prime knowledge, and I've never heard or seen anyone else tell you how to do this.
Okay.
Except for Lori Cabot, and I had to catch it in like an hour-long live video during the pandemic. And I was like, oh my gosh, she just changed my life. And I didn't do it. I tried a different method, and that's how my original Book of Shadows ruined, because I did it with tea. Okay? But if you want to stain your Book of Shadow pages and you want to consecrate it, okay, you can take this method, you can apply it to other things, like if you wanted to charge the paint or oils or fabric and stuff and brush it on the inside of the fabric, like you can do all that. But if you want to consecrate and stain and bless and charge your Book of Shadows, cup of spring water, tablespoon of antibacterial soap, add a crystal in of your choice. You can add some herbs if you want, and you get some you have to figure out the shades that you like. Test this out before you go in. But brown acrylic paint with just a touch of black. And that's your tea stain. It's an artificial tea stain. And that's how it preserves the pages. And it blesses them and charges them and keeps them from getting mold on them.
Yeah.
So, and you can just go around the edges of each page and do it with intention to charge. Some people just shut the book and they just take a brush and they brush the outside so it just kind of sinks in on the edge of the paper. But I made the mistake of tea staining and not drying it in the oven, drying it traditional style. And there was a few pages in the back that didn't fully dry, and it molded the whole book. So, and I knew about this method too. I was just being lazy because I didn't want to go get the paint. So Another pro tip is they make, and we actually saw this the other day at the art supply, they make distress ink in tea stain color.
Oh, yes. I have some
So
for
you
my
can,
scrapbooking.
yeah, so you can do
Yeah.
that. Oh, that's what I was going to say earlier about the Book of Shadows.
Uh-huh.
Is, since we're talking about Book of Shadows again, if you don't like a traditional 3-ring binder, you can get a scrapbook
Oh,
from a
yeah.
craft store and get one with 2 or 3 posts in there, and you can expand those posts. And basically, it's not as easy to move around the pages, but you can use sheet protectors and just swap the pages out.
Yeah,
So
that's nice.
it's not like you can just open the rings and like move it around very quickly, but it also helps it lay flat, and it's, it can be as big as you need it to be.
Right.
So yeah, those are some tips. I'm sure we'll think of more.
I've got more. I've got 3 more.
Stop. No, you don't. How do you think linearly? Like,
I don't. They just come up. But these aren't really tips, but these are kind of like
advice or
like
something?
3 things that like I feel like you should make and have in your like kit, essentially.
Oh my god, I have another one. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're just gonna keep going.
All right.
It's fine. Hour and a half long podcast.
Okay, so
It's fine.
here's the other one. So
Sorry, you guys had to wait a couple weeks. We had a crazy busy week.
I have found one of the most useful things. This you're gonna like. What really? Is my protection potion.
What? Why would I think that's?
I don't know.
Why would I say what to that? I literally am obsessed with my protection potion.
So I have this protection
It's my
potion.
favorite thing to do. I just be protecting myself all
And
day.
I wear a necklace that I wear every day. It's been charged, consecrated, and blessed, prayed over. And sometimes for protection. And sometimes I want to like just give it a little oomph. You know what I'm saying?
Little recharge.
Yeah,
little-
so I'll dip it in that protection potion often.
Okay.
You also can, when you ward or protect your house in whatever way you choose to, you can take this potion and anoint doors and windows with it. You can anoint your car and the interior and exterior surfaces with it.
Yep.
And you can anoint yourself if you're going on a trip somewhere. Whenever you need protection, you can anoint your kids, you can anoint other people, whatever, right? You can anoint objects that you want to protect from theft. The possibilities are endless, but
Endless, honey.
But essentially a protection potion, and don't let the word potion confuse or scare you. It's literally a concentrated tea. You brew your tea, you skim off the herbs, and you allow that water to reduce to about half. This is how I make it. And then afterwards, you preserve it with either, I use a lot of salt. I use salt to preserve it.
Yeah.
You can use glycerin, I think, too.
Yeah, so I'll run down some do's, don'ts, and how-tos after this, but continue, wrap up your potion.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I found that protection potion is just excellent to have in your witchy cupboard, essentially, for whatever you need.
Yeah. So with potions, we have water-based potions, oil-based potions, sands, powders, things like that. What Lux was talking about is a particular potion and the method she uses. Typically, when it comes to making potions, do a little research on how to do it. But what she was saying is that don't get intimidated.
Right.
Like you can literally make a potion by making it a concentrated tea. So if you're gonna do that, the way that I go about doing it, the way I teach my students is every 1 cup of water that you use, 1 tablespoon of sea salt. That preserves that amount of liquid, okay?
That's the right measurement. I just pour the salt.
And we can feel it in those potions too. So you know it's...
Hey, listen, salt's protective.
It amplifies. It amplifies. So don't forget to charge your salt and your water too. But what I was going to say was you're going to lose a little bit of liquid to evaporation and stuff. But typically you don't want to boil most herbs unless they're thicker roots, okay?
Correct.
That's the only time you let it really boil. Most of the time you just want to steep it. And then what I do is I bring the water to a boil, everything's charged, I add the herbs, I charge it again, turn the heat off, let it cool, steep for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Turn the heat back on, bring it back to a boil, turn it off, remove it, stir it, charge it some more, let it steep.
Yes.
Then I strain and everything, okay?
Yeah, okay.
And that way we don't lose as much liquid. And also, the salt, we're not having to add the salt afterwards, and we're not,
interesting.
and we're not like unsure of how much salt to put in.
Okay.
So if we start off by using salt water to begin with and trying to keep up with as much water as we can without losing it to condensation or evaporation, then that's just like one of those things I learned from being in the midst of it.
Right.
So I just figured this was the perfect time to share that.
Try that.
So
that method. Yeah, I'll try that.
You know, I'd be loving to whip up a potion.
Learn something new every day.
And also, like, I'm not saying your way's wrong. I was just giving practical tips that I picked up along the way, because what we both talk about all the time is that.
Well, you are the potion maker. Let's be real between us. Yeah, you do. You
not me being the potion king.
Yeah, potion seller. I don't know if anyone knows that.
That's funny. So what I was going to say was something that we've noticed consistently is nobody teaches you how to make a potion. That's all mocktails or cocktails or how to get inebriated.
I hate that because I don't even drink. So
if you guys want to learn how to actually make a potion, feel free to sign up for our courses or book a spiritual life coaching session with us. But you can take what you've learned from this and intuit your way through it.
The cocktails as witch's potion is so cringe in
my
opinion.
It's so annoying. It's like when people say that witchcraft is, to be a witch means to fight the patriarchy.
I'm my God, I can't.
Stop. We're not, like, get over your activism. It has no place here. But anyways, moving on. We're not going to talk about that. Maybe in another episode.
That's a totally another episode.
I know. You know what I love is when I just...
Oh, that was the other one. Hold on, let me say this before, because I almost let it go.
I know, I had the same brain blast just now.
The other thing that I think that you should make is some sort, and Chosen may disagree with this as well, some sort of connection or blessing or anointing oil for you to anoint yourself before ritual. I mean, I do. I cleanse the area, I cleanse myself, and then I anoint myself. And all of those things are allowing me to get into my most magical, spiritual, religious, devotional place.
That's a wonderful step to add.
With God, you know? And I think the other last thing is in terms of like magical clothing, I didn't use magical clothing for a really long time.
Oh, honey, it's fun.
Oh, yeah. It's very expensive if you want to get, like, you know, all of the books will tell you, traditional robe, you can make one, you can yada, yada, yada,
but that's
whatever.
Expensive, right?
It's still expensive to make one because fabric itself is just expensive. So I have a long, almost like a duster length cardigan. And I like kind of pull it closed, and I got some rope from Hobby Lobby, and I use that as a belt to keep the robe closed. And I also got a scarf because I like to be hooded because it helps me to meditate because the hood kind of goes over my eyes and it blocks out a lot of that light. And I also just like the hooded effect of like a hooded robe or
because
something.
It helps you to alter your consciousness.
Yes,
it's helping you to get deeper into it.
Yes, all of this, the lighting of the incense, the dimming of the lights, the lighting of the candles, the adorning of clothes that are used specifically for ritual and nothing else. So they don't have to be esoteric, they don't have to be handmade, they can be just normal clothes, but you set aside, it could be shorts and a t-shirt, but you set aside those clothes for ritual purposes only, and you only wear those clothes during ritual.
Yeah.
Here's the other pro tip. Sorry, they just keep coming.
I have like 2 more too. You're good. Keep
All
going.
right, here's the thing. I'm a lazy witch as well as a Dollar Tree witch.
That's what I was just thinking. Okay, go.
What you need to know is that tools and other artifacts, now I wouldn't count talisman because talismans, charms, or anything like that need to be done in a specific intentional way in order to consecrate them, in my opinion. However, magical tools, magical clothing, anything like that, candles and stuff like that, all of that is naturally consecrated when you are in ritual. That is what I have found. So you don't have to do a specific ceremony for your new wand, a specific ceremony for your new, veil that you got, or your hood that you got. You don't have to do a specific ceremony for a new candle or for a new incense holder or something. All of that stuff almost gets grandfathered in when you do a circle, when you cast ritual. And if you keep all of that stuff in one place, like and you continue to do ritual there, that energy just builds in that spot.
Yeah.
And you create almost a temple space.
Oh, 100%.
And not a lot of people have the privilege of having a corner, even a space, or I have a whole room dedicated to magic. So it doesn't matter. You can still do this on a bookshelf.
Yeah.
Or a small shelf in your closet, or a trunk, or something like that. The energy is still there you know, but the most important thing is keeping your magic items in the magical space and keeping it separate from the mundane until you get to a place where there's no separation between magic and mundane and your entire life is a magical life.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in that aspect as well with the lazy and the mixing of the mundane and magical.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the kind of person that's like, have an issue, go flip through the Book of Shadows, find a recipe, brew a potion in your regular clothes as well. But there are times when I feel like, oh, no, we're doing ritual. Like, we're going to take a cleansing bath and get in the right mood and everything, stuff like that. So that's wonderful. And since we were talking about that, really, like what you're talking about, like the magic building and accumulating and building that temple in the outer realms is typically what you do when you start becoming advanced, because your typical beginning spiritual development and training in witchcraft and magic is developing the temple within, and going in and I've said this for years, and I know we've come to this term inner temple over the last couple of years, especially with the Penzak books, but for years I was taught even in ministry school that we have to go inward and establish the infrastructure. That way, when the outer blessings are released upon us, that we don't crumble beneath that weight. We're able to operate without the things outside because we can go inward and operate, you know?
Yeah.
So just a little fun little bit of wisdom there. I have a couple more tips and we'll go ahead and wrap up because we're already 27 minutes back in. Gosh. But, you know, we didn't podcast for a couple of weeks because we had stuff going on. If you're going to be doing readings or divination, you may find it beneficial to have a specific reading box. Or a divination box, you know. Now, I do readings professionally, I do markets and stuff, and I have a specific box for my tools that I use for the public.
Right, me too.
And then I have my other stuff in a specific spot at home. And I just throw my pendulum in the box when I'm doing, because I use one pendulum most of the time, even though I have a couple. But fascinating, like game-changing, practical advice. It helps so much to have it all in one place. And you can get very cheap boxes at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and you can paint it, and you can also charge it by doing that same thing where you add herbs and crystals and whatever oils in, you know, into the paint before you consecrate it. I mean, before you stain it or whatever. So that helps charge the box too. I didn't do that with mine. I just literally used some paint and some water. I diluted it. So the other thing I was going to say, and I do this, is I charge my skincare products and my body wash products. And I make a specific body wash that is for purification, immediate removal.
I've been meaning to do that.
Immediate removal of all incorrect harmful energy, permanent removal where it cannot reattach. That also puts up immediate protection. Wow. And this, I didn't have it for like a couple weeks because my cats accidentally broke my glass bottle version of it. So I went and bought a plastic bottle and rebrewed it. And I can feel the difference when I use it. And for those of you who don't know, potions, typically when you anoint yourself with them, you're basically taking the magic that potion corresponds to, and it's affecting the energy and aura of whatever you're using it on, whether it's yourself, your car, person, animal, whatever. And that effect will last for, traditionally they say, about 4 days. Oh. So let's say you're not feeling well, you're sick, and you're recovering from the flu. You can anoint yourself with healing potion, protection potion, and lay on the couch all weekend, and you don't have to worry about.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Anointing yourself every day. It'll last for, because listen, I know what it's like to be sick and not bathe for like 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been like deathly sick, and it's been days.
Yeah, when you get sick, you get sick hard.
It's hard, yeah. So yeah, that's practical, but also the skincare and like the face products. Like I used to work for a luxury skincare company, and I love skincare. Pro tip, the best products are at the drugstore, but not the point. I also mix my own face cream. Yeah. And by combining the ones I like and adding essential oils and some other carrier oils that are really good for the skin. And I charge it to not only heal and regenerate my skin, but also to protect me and to let people be blessed when they encounter me. Not like make me beautiful so people are blessed by me, but like sometimes I'm not thinking, and I want people when they see me to feel like they matter. Yeah. Or, feel like they've been seen.
It's like a little bit of glamour magic.
It's a glamour magic is what I was getting at. Yeah. So you can pray over it. You can get very simple, but also like life hack. If you are into skincare and stuff, magically charge your sunscreen to block out, like energy that's incorrect and harmful. Now you can do this with all the products, but if you want to have like protection as well, and you like don't want to make a potion, you can make one out of your sunscreen.
Yeah.
And like you're touching your body, so it's going over all of your energy. But anyways, the way I do it, and you can do it any way you want to, but I would just say something like, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I
Yeah.
bless and activate this, X, Y, and Z to do X, Y, and Z. Let this be correct and for the good of all, harming none, with the help of the guides, guardians, ancestors, and angels, and the powers of creation and the elements. In the name of Jesus, so be it. Okay.
Yeah.
You can edit that however you want to. I typically just say in the name of Jesus with the power of the elements, help with, whatever. But that's a general template, so take it.
I absolutely love that. That's actually something I've recently been able to grow into, because I'm a stickler for rules and tradition. It's hard for me to break that mold. And so for so long, I thought that magic must be done in a circle. Magic, for it to work, must happen in a circle. And so that stripped my life of any magical, practical meaning, to where I could have been blessing the food we eat every time we cook a meal. And it's like, that's the next step, right? Is moving into that where you bathe every day, you brush your teeth every day, you have to cook mostly every day, or you eat every day. You know what I mean? And it's these practical things that we do every single day. We get in the car and drive almost every day, and bringing magic and healing into those small spaces and things. So yeah, I've been meaning to make like a body wash to, help cleanse the aura and different things like that when I can't take a whole Epsom salt bath or something like that. But absolutely, you're right on the money. And it took me a minute to really come around, like, are you sure it's gonna work? Because I had this idea, this almost like this, I hate to use this word, but almost like a superstition almost, that it wouldn't work. And so I asked my magical mentor, and he was like, oh yeah, it'll work. Yeah.
Girl, you asked him and didn't trust me? I feel so betrayed. Oh my God. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. I know you totally thought I was serious.
So I'm hard-headed.
No,
right?
Honey, I'm aware.
I'm
aware, as am I.
Yeah, so I have to hear it from like multiple
Several
different
people.
authorities, to where I'm actually like, oh, okay, maybe it'll work, So
I have to hear it from people that I respect their opinion.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes I run things past you, even though I may know the answer.
Right.
Because, no matter how far you get, like, we're always working on believing in ourselves and trusting
ourselves.
ourselves.
That's a whole thing.
I know. So yeah, it will work outside of circle. Now, I will tell you this. Inside a magic circle, it is like 10x, like it magnifies it like hundreds. It will be more effective, but that doesn't mean that it's barely working outside of it.
Yeah.
That's like... it works no matter what. I don't know how to say it.
Especially simple prayer and consecration and blessing.
Well, and so here's the other thing.
You can do that anytime.
And here's the other thing I'll say is, sometimes the sentimental, symbolic acts of magic can be the most powerful. So everyone needs to stay hydrated. Taking your water and charging it and blessing it and speaking into it the things that you want as if they already are. But something that's a really, like, if you're going through inner healing work at all, okay, and I feel bad because I didn't say this to my students yesterday in our inner healing class, but you can take your water, which is the element that corresponds with the emotional, the psychic, and even blends into the mental realms, because H2O, there's oxygen, air,
right.
Okay, right? And you can ask it to help cleanse and balance the mental, emotional, and spiritual realms for you and help you to become more whole and healed. And as you drink that, you are charging your cells. Your whole body is being flooded with this magical energy in a different aspect than just bathing in it, So
no, you're absolutely correct.
That's the final tip that I'll leave you with is like, don't skip the mundane things. Like, I charge my coffee every morning. Like,
I know, please. I'm so bad at that.
I'm like, please bring me some inspiration today.
Yeah. I'm still trying to bring the magical into my mundane, so that's just
I think that's what makes it so much fun.
Oh,
is
it
that
does,
everyday magic. And here's the deal. One of my favorite people at our local bookstore that we hang out with said that they didn't like this book that I was pointing out the other day. And I was like, oh, I love that book. It like gave me so many ideas. And maybe like if I go back and read it, I'll be like, oh, I can see why. But Everyday Magic by Deborah Blake is a wonderful book for bringing magic into the day-to-day lifestyle. Okay, I haven't read that one. She also has a book that's like 365 days of daily magic. It's kind of like a devotional type thing, right? not saying that everything in these books are wonderful, but they stir that faith in you. They stir the magic within you, and they make you hunger for it. And so, yeah, anyways, kind of like Ravenloft.
Let me just validate you right quick on that that water situation. You know, I'm working through the elements with my magical mentor, and I'm on fire. We just did water, and that was a part of what he calls, you know, initiation into that element. Is you consecrate and bless, and you actually invoke the essence of water, that healing, and we do it through angel names, but you consecrate and pull down that blue light of water element into the water, and then you sip the water, and you, like you were saying, it fills your entire, clears your aura and stuff, and that's how you can like invoke a power. Anyway, I think that's really cool because I didn't tell you that that was a part of the course.
You just sure didn't.
Yeah, and so you're like already coming to those things, so it's really interesting.
It is really cool.
I like
that.
It's nice to be validated because this dude's all the way out in like Colorado somewhere, right?
And I have
like from a different tradition.
Correct. That's another thing is like different system.
Right.
I've already told you that I don't pay attention to him.
Oh,
like
I
don't know
know.
what's going on. not that I don't like him. I think he's wonderful. Listen, I thought he looked a little Amish at first. I think he's adorable. Okay.
I love him, but that's probably because he looks like my husband.
But other than that, like I've caught like very few things from him, and I've always liked everything he says.
Yeah.
And I can also see like the information he's giving and passing on to you is absolutely beneficial. So like I have no qualms against him, but it's cool to see like you said, different places, different traditions having similar significant experiences.
Yeah.
And how it transcends everything, you know?
Right, because at that point, it's not unverified personal gnosis. You know, it's
like,
gnosis.
Yeah, exactly.
It's real stuff.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
so, and that brings me back to the final thing I'll say, and I say this often, experiential knowledge is so important, okay? I'm not talking about unverified or unique personal gnosis. I'm talking about experiences that prove to you that magic is real, that spirit is real, encounters with God are real, but also testimonies of other similar believers, you know, that share in your like belief system of things they've experienced that you're able to validate and say, I've actually felt that.
Right.
And so it becomes
more than any of us.
And it moves beyond just the was that real to oh, this is validated.
No, this is real.
This is verified. And so we start to catch on to these principles or laws or basically just things that we can kind of we kind of know that if we do this, we're going to get a similar effect. And it's like repeatable. Yeah. You know, so there's a little bit of a science to it, but
no, there is, and and it's not the scientific method or anything, but that is a whole nother podcast episode. But that is the science of the occult. Yeah. You know, it is because there are rituals and things that we can do and experiences to be had that are shared with other practitioners. You know, and it's not all, everybody's truth is subjective and everybody has a different truth and there's no one way and there's no, there are some experiences that are there to be had that are these more objective truths out there to, you know, these gnosis currents that can be verified cross culturally. Or at least within one person's own tradition of magic, that prove that it is a truth of some sort. It's not subjective, and it's not somebody's personal experience, and it's not their perspective. It's something that is a truth. And I think that that's important to point out because while a lot of magic is subjective, and while we do want to talk about, you know, there's not only just one truth, but there are these truths out there, you know, and I think that that's important that's like the dichotomy episode we were talking about, like holding two seemingly contradictory, you know, there's
the paradigms and paradoxes,
There's also objective truth out there to be had too. So anyway, I was in an argument on the other day that came up. So it's just like
a discussion, if you will.
Yeah, apparently they saw it as an argument, but essentially
they'll get over it one day when they snap out of it and they look back, and just like we do, we look back and we're like, oh, I said some idiotic things, right? Like there were times where I made a dang good argument against some of the stuff that I believe in now. Yeah. And it's it's wild
Yeah.
to look back on.
I always say that occultism isn't a spectator sport. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to get into it.
Say it, sister.
Yeah, you have to, right? Because no one can prove to you that, magic is real, that the occult is, real and things like that, and the experiences to be had. Like, you have to have those experiences as well.
Yeah.
And when you have, hundreds of years going back, of people, having these same experiences over and over and over again, although this is not the scientific method, this anecdotal...
There's a rhythm to it.
Yeah, this anecdotal evidence and these testimony throughout the ages of people having these experiences, that means something.
Yeah.
That holds weight. And astrology is the same way. Even though it can't be proven with the scientific method, there's thousands of years of astrological data.
Yeah.
And so
I'm listening to a podcast right now. I'm sorry, I just totally interrupted you.
You're good.
I apologize. I just got excited. I'm listening to a podcast that's investigating and assessing the specific charismatic stream of Christianity I was trained and came from and experienced, and I was actually involved with 2 of these major ministries and that they're looking into. And I like it because they're remaining honorable. You can tell there's a slight bias in wanting to undermine and disprove some things, but not being able to, because the host of the podcast is actually a member of one of those places, or she was years ago. Like, she experienced supernatural things. And so now she's like, okay, well, I've had this experience. So what the hell was it if I don't believe in this stuff anymore, right?
Right.
So she's trying to figure it out, right? Well, I'm really enjoying the podcast. I'm thinking some of it's taken a little bit out of context. Some of it's validating things that I saw. There are incorrect, harmful things going on. But one of the things is that she talks to these scientists and psychologists and psychotherapists and medical doctors that they go and they investigate these healing claims, and statistically, like, in the people that have experienced these healing prayers and divine healing acts, whatever it may be, some sort of supernatural ministry, there's statistical improvement in them. Like, to the point, like, you can be documented that they weren't like this and all of a sudden they are. People are having major emotional, psychological breakthroughs that should take them years to work through in 20 minutes. And just from, like, falling over laughing on the floor. And, like, the psychologist, when he's like, I want to understand this, like, how is this happening? And still, like, he's stuck behind science. He's like, I don't understand how this is happening, but I can tell you it's happening. And I can tell you that these people shouldn't be having this type of breakthrough unless there's supernatural activity involved, right?
Oh, wow.
Is like what he's, like, inferring, but, or I guess insinuating is the right word there. But it's still hosted by this woman who's, like, deconstructing and trying to work through stuff. But it's just like, even science can go and validate that. Even people not practicing magic, even though we totally know they're manipulating energy and doing magic, they're not calling it that, but that's what it is. It can be picked up and verified by science for people that don't believe, that are trying to break it down.
Yeah.
They can see the improvements. So I don't know. I just think that's really cool and, like, timely for this episode, or I guess for at least this last little conversation we got lost in. But
yeah,
it's really cool. And then there's, like, other ministries where, like, no healings can be verified. But I mean, I've been divinely healed. I've seen deaf people get their hearing back. I've had my leg grow out longer. Just wild stuff.
wow.
But anyways, so yeah, just because sometimes there may not be a reason for everything, but everything happens for a reason. And there is a rhythm to some things, and we can kind of get into that flow, So we're going to wrap up here because we're 45 minutes deep. But we love you guys so much. We've had so much fun with this conversation. I've enjoyed this conversation
I know.
so
I
much.
learned some things.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Girl, I guess I learned a couple of things too. No, I'm just kidding. I really did. I love doing this podcast because it allows us to talk about things that we are just so used to.
I know.
And it just reminds me of how much I just love you. Like,
I know.
we could just have a podcast where we talk about how much we like each other. It's just wonderful. Besties forever. I do that with a lot of my friends in life. Like, for those of you who don't know, I have, like, a handful of good friends that I consider best friends or family to me. Like, one of my really good friends is becoming a pilot right now. And I just think about, like, the things I'm able to relate to him about and, like, how much I adore him. And like totally like a brother to me. Like just like there's moments where he drives me nuts, but there's also moments where I'm just like, I'm so grateful for you, you know? Anyways, I do this sometimes. I have these moments of gratitude, but I don't know why I'm talking about this. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I don't know why that came to my mind, but we're gonna wrap up, and yeah,
That's all I got.
that's all you got.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long podcast. Hope
What?
y'all
Why did that
enjoyed
come to
it.
mind? Oh, because I was telling you, I was joking. We should make a podcast where we just talk and say nice
Oh,
things to each
yeah.
other. Okay. All right. Anyways, I was like, why did that come to my mind? It was driving me nuts. I literally was just like, I was like, why would I go off on that? Anyways, love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.